What are some dumb purchases you made? A shitty mall katana, while I was on a date, no less. It was a first date. There was not a second. Edit. Since many of you are requesting details, here goes. This was close to 20 years ago. I was 19. I had just moved into a new apartment and thought mounting a katana on the wall would look mature and cool. It never made it up on the wall in any place I ever lived. I eventually sold it at a garage sale. Got $20 for it. The date wasn't going terribly up to that point, but it was also clear we weren't destined for a second date. I've never owned a fedora and thought I grew out of my nice guy neckbeard tendencies by 10th grade. Maybe it was a last gasp attempt for those traits to manifest themselves. I hope she remembers it, preferably with a laugh. I certainly remember it. I have 3 boys, and they will definitely hear about it as a cautionary tale. I've bought a lot of how-to kits books. Like how to knit, how to calligraphy, how to paint, how to write poetry, etc. Have I learned how to do a single one of those things? No, I have not. Edit. Y'all thanks, but I am aware of the existence of YouTube, Google, and libraries. That would be why I'm saying they are dumb purchases lol. I traded a rather rare volume into a local used bookstore because I had 2 of them. Then went back to the bookstore a month later and excitedly bought my own book back because it was rare and I didn't think I owned it. I was wrong. I bought a faceless doll to scare people. Turns out I was the most scared one. Had a crush on a guy I barely knew who told someone else who told me that this guy was into dominant women. A few days later I dropped nearly $600 on bondage gear, an entire strap-on setup and what I imagined to be dominatrix outfits. Everything arrived in the mail by a couple weeks later. I tried on everything, looked all manner of ridiculous and suddenly realized I had never planned beyond that point. I couldn't come up with any non-mortifying way to try to let this guy know that I was prepared to dominate him. Like, I couldn't even decide if it would be less ridiculous to pretend I had always had all this stuff and been into such things, or to admit I bought everything on the off chance that a near stranger I was infatuated with might be down for it. In the end I gave it all away to an elderly gay couple on Craigslist. That was my $600 value charity donation for the year. Wasn't even tax deductible. $400 fish tank lighting. I wasn't carpenter enough to build the hood to mount it. It sits in the basement as a monument of my idiocy. A cactus that lights up. I commissioned an artist to paint a portrait of my then girlfriend's dying pet rat. She had told me her rat was about to die a month before I got it. By the time it was ready, the relationship had ended and I didn't know what to do with it. I paid $90 for it and it was absolutely worth the price. Artist did an amazing job, I just didn't have anyone to give it to now. I ended up giving it to her anyway. I regret doing that since I probably just made her feel guilty. Thing is, I was fully aware we were about to break up. I just liked her so much and I was totally alone in a new state. I didn't think I was good enough to earn her love, so I tried to buy it. Real dumb. Those claw covers for cats to stop them from scratching up your furniture. They were ripped off the next day. He was gnawing at his little feet until everyone was gone. When I was 7, I saved up for a 1-foot high porcelain Dalmatian from a department store. My pocket money was £1 week. The dog cost £27. My mother still has it at her house. It's the kind of thing a 70-year-old would buy. I have no fucking idea what was going on in my head. Edit. I think it was ceramic, not specifically porcelain. Maybe as tall as 18 inches. This is the closest I could find. https://images.app.goo.gl/8jb9fzlipec4zv8aa. I was obsessed with getting it, and I never had buyer remorse. It's also so completely out of character. Accidentally bought stuff in Clash of Clans. Twice. $75 in plants only to let them die because I forgot about them. A house in 2007. It's still not worth as much as we paid for it. I went on a first date with the girl that I liked. We live in New Jersey and it was July, so obviously I took her to the boardwalk. While we were there I saw a vendor selling hermit crabs, and my dumbass thought it'd be funny to buy them as a joke and try to impress her. I then realized after spending $30 on 2 crabs, 2 because one would get lonely, that I needed a proper setup. So we went to PetSmart and got a tank, food, sand, and a log for them to play on. Long story short, I spent over $100 on hermit crabs and supplies. Not to mention that the girl completely friend-zoned me, which is okay because now I have my 2 crabs, pickles and Jodgers to keep me company. When I was high off pain meds after my ACL surgery, I was on Amazon and saw a typewriter that I really wanted. Order it, and it was a picture of a typewriter on a notebook. I'm still mad about that lol. Update. Wow, I did not expect so many people to relate to this lol. Everything just seems like a great idea when you feel like you're floating. It was Percocet and Oxy. It was $12, so I didn't really care about returning it, and honestly, it's a funny reminder that I like to have around. My family still brings it up to tease me about it, but it is funny, so I can't blame them. Super update. I found the link on Amazon. https://www.amazon.com/gp/product/b003u/refecalsppx_y_art_score_ASIN_b_ps_equals1. I bought an umbrella on a rainy day once from a cheap corner store that seemed like it was a hidden drug operation or something, and it broke that very day. An ex broke up with me. She was the first person I dated and didn't really know how to navigate the breakup, so I bought her a really thoughtful gift for her birthday a month later. What a waste of money and time looking back on it. Spent over $100 or more buying clothes for my avatar on a virtual reality game when I could have spent it on, you know, actual clothes. My first pack of cigarettes. Edit. Thanks for the gold and silver. Didn't expect this to blow up. Looks nervously at all the games on Steam GOG that I've bought but haven't played ever. The alcohol stove I've bought recently didn't work as well as I had anticipated. I spent $60 on an electric blue ceramic pumpkin. Edit. It is a different shade of blue than I thought. I haven't seen it in years because I hid it in the back of my garage after I broke the stem off. https://imgur.com/takk6lo. Getting home drunk and spending $15 on the Animal Crossing app. This has happened 3 times. My first time in Germany, I was only there for a few months, so I thought I don't need a Bahn card. I'm not here for a full year. Then I spent well over 1,000 euros on train tickets. The whole time I could have been saving 50% and collecting loyalty points. I used to buy Starbucks and or lunch for several co-workers multiple times a week. I was in an incredible amount of debt. Edit. Wow, this gained traction. If internet points had any cash value, I could have paid off all that stupid debt. TLDR. Loved people. Spent a lot of money on that endeavor. Many of you have asked, why? So there are many answers to that question. I'll try to break it all down. We all were fairly young and poor, but most of my co-workers also had kids. I tried to take care of them so they could take care of their kiddos. Everyone needs someone to give a damn about them, so I did. One Redditor pointed out that I had a desire to be liked, and this is true. I wasn't necessarily trying to purchase their adoration, but it turned out effective. People want to be cared for, and I am a naturally nurturing person. I grew up in a family that tried to use things to show a form of affection. Both of my parents grew up dirt poor, truly struggling. By the time I was born, they were working class poor, the kind where you own a small house on a quietish street in a not so great neighborhood, but you're not sure if the lights or water will always be on or if you're going to be scraping together enough gas money to fuel your hoopty out in the driveway. Due to this financial insecurity, my parents were wildly irresponsible with money. They had no idea how to budget or maintain a sustainable household, and they tried to use any extra money to lavish my siblings and me with things they wished they could have had themselves as children. They were phenomenal parents, loving, kind, strict but fair, quick to congratulate, praise, and always held us to our best. They were just poor not only financially, but in all of the social, educational, and foundational ways that affect impoverished communities across America. I grew up thinking it was okay to be in debt. It took me my entire 20s to realize how dangerous, stressful, and heartbreaking that mentality is to the psyche. I'm much better now. My debt is sensible and sustainable. I have developed better habits, and have a proper career. I make more money than my parents could have ever dreamed of. I can only imagine how incredibly proud they would be that I am successful both as a well-paid career person, and more importantly, as a well-educated member of society. I still do nice things for people. That nurturing trait that was instilled into me at an early age is still strong. I buy random gifts for friends and make sure birthdays are special. I surprise coworkers with coffee or buy lunch for the car behind me in the drive-thru. I truly believe in the power of random acts of kindness and how important it is for us to all just be good to one another. I'm just more responsible about it now. As for payback, some of them reciprocated whenever they could. Others did not. Some were just close friends. Their payback was time, care, and love. We all make transactions in different ways. Some are financial, others are emotional or physical. I had a great emotional relationship with these people and love them all very much. Over a decade later, they were a critical part of my story. I am who I am today because of the influences they had on my early adult life. We figured out how to ride the tides of adulthood together, and that's worth far more than coffee and cheeseburgers. Be well, fellow Redditors. Deciding to go to grad school in 2012 minus 5 years after graduating for no other reason than I have no clue what to do with my life. This kills me every time I remember it, and it's honestly made me into the extreme money saver I am today. When I was younger, my family visited Niagara Falls. I had $50, which is a lot for a kid with no job, and was excited to buy some souvenirs. I spent it all on keychains. I only got like 6 of them, which made it to $50. They were all of the same place, too. It's not like they were from different cities. I wasted all the money I owned on freaking keychains. Who even uses those? It haunts me to this day. I bought a rare exotic cucumber from a guy who said it would give me good luck. Edit. Thank you so much for my first gold. Bought Onishi for my Great Dane. Don't know why I bought it, but I think he liked it. I once spent $15 on a Postmates order for ice cream. I bought books when I was in first semester, later realized that I could have read online. So sold them after the semester. When I was 17 I had unknowingly saved up a lot, $2,000 from work. I chose to spend this on a double neck guitar. I'm usually pretty conservative with my spending, but I have bipolar disorder and sometimes when I am manic I go a little nuts with dumb purchases. My 2 worst are probably a top of the line spin bike, which I had never tried before, for about $1,000, and I resold for $300 once I was out of the episode, and I also convinced myself to join a hockey league. I spent $1,200 on skates, pads, gloves, stick and helmet. I have never skated and I still haven't. All the gear is in the back of my closet and I cringe whenever I stumble across it. Not me, but my mom. She surprised me with a pair of fancy basketball shoes for my birthday, even though I'd never expressed any interest in such a thing, and I was neither cool nor athletic. I brought them to scout camp a few weeks later and lost one of them in the mud. They were original, size 11 Air Jordans. In 1984 or 1985. $200 Gucci slides for my high school graduation. One time I was so fucked on dabs I bought 5 pounds of gummy sharks online. Sober me was not stoked. Later high me was. I bought an $80 pen one time. Edit. I was about 8 years old and was driving to Florida from NY with my dad and sisters. My dad is super showy and I have no idea where he got the money, so at a rest stop, he handed us each a $100 bill and said get whatever you want, so I bought the pen for $80. He was not happy when I got back to the car. Edit. My father and I don't get along, and one of the reasons is he throws money at everything instead of actually solving the problem. So this was basically just to keep 3 little girls quiet during a 19-hour drive. It was pretty typical of him. Edit. I'm 33 and no longer have the pen. IDK what happened to it over the years, but I hope someone who loves pens found it and gave it a nice life. Lifetime Mega Video subscription. It was shut down shortly afterwards for copyright infringement. Bought $50 worth of Beanie Babies because I thought they'd be worth something. My phone died in the middle of Times Square. I was there on a school trip and was alone for about 4 hours. I ended up buying a charger from a gift shop that was marked up to $50. I ended up paying $30, and it was the shittiest charger I have ever used in my entire life. I can still remember looking at the screen when it booted up to say 9 hours and 30 minutes until fully charged. Edit. Reminder, this was in 2016 with my old Samsung. I was a sophomore in high school from a small town Midwestern community. I now go to university in a metropolitan city, so I look back and think of how easily I could have done other things. I couldn't remember where my school was meeting up, in front of the Hard Rock Cafe. I'll never forget. If I hadn't found that charger, there would have been search parties as I wouldn't be on my bus or in my hotel room that night. Also, don't get me wrong, I was not thirsty for my phone, rather distraught that I couldn't remember where my group was meeting up in 4 hours. I ended up making friends with a Jewish man who was preaching on the streets. I walked into a massive church on one of the side avenues. I had many adventures that day that I will never forget. Edit 2. I was completely alone. I somehow got torn away from my group at Grand Central Station. This was also in the early spring, so I was quite cold as the night grew on. Every factor contributed to my choices. I felt and still feel pretty good about how everything worked out on my behalf. Minus $30.